So, anybody that has gone back and listened to the first episode of this podcast knows that I don't necessarily have a great relationship with a particular game, and that game is Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. In fact, I'm pretty sure at some point or another in each episode, I have brought it up at least once. Maybe I didn't in one episode, but I know for sure I've referenced it at least twice. But in all fairness, I should get out of the way. I don't hate the game. I don't think it's terrible. In fact, I distinctly remember in June of 2019, I went to my local in-town game shop, and I was looking around. I was in the market for a new game. I was like, God, I really want to play a kart racer, but I'm just not in the mood for Mario Kart. So I remember talking to the guy behind the counter and asking him, okay, which game should I get? Which game is better, Crash Team Racing or Team Sonic Racing? Because that was the other mascot kart racer that came out for current gen consoles at the time. And even though he liked Sonic more as a character, he thought that CTR would be the better game. Now, of course, he was basing it off of the original CTR on the PlayStation. And to be fair, it's like, yeah, he's probably right. Not that I thought that Team Sonic Racing would necessarily be a terrible game, but... And, I have it now, and I haven't really played it very much. It's still a fine game. It's not better than Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, I would say. But I probably should put a little bit more time into it, too. So I basically came out of that conversation buying CTR. I was like, all right, I'm convinced. I'm going with Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. And then I went home and I played it a ton. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I finished the adventure mode 100% within like the first couple of weeks of owning the game. I'm not at 101%, so I'm still missing the one nitrous oxide costume because I just can't figure out what have I not done to get 101%. But I will figure it out. I maybe it's getting all of the gold relics in the adventure. I'm not sure. I don't know. But suffice to say, like I said, I finished the adventure mode in like the first couple of weeks that I owned it, and I can tell you the last time that I finished a game that fast. Like it takes me very long to finish a lot of the games I own, but that was one that I was just like done pretty much instantly. And yeah, sure, I had a bunch of stuff to unlock through the pit stop, which will be a topic of conversation here, but I'd like to finish this story first. But it's like, I finished the adventure. I wanted to play a little bit more online, but after that, I was about done. I basically wanted to do the same thing that I do with any Mario Kart game, which is now that I've done all of the single player, I just want to play online, and ever I'm like, I want to play Mario Kart. That sounds like fun. But then, in July 2019, all of a sudden, there was the announcement of the Nitro Tour Grand Prix, which is where all of the problems started happening. And it is in fact the reason that I wanted to discuss this today is, in mid-February, which I know is a month ago now, and in fact, it's on that I would hazard a guess to say that my inspiration for this is almost over now. Activision announced the final Grand Prix, which is great for me because I have quite a bit to say about them and why exactly I did not like the Grand Prix system that Activision added to Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Full disclosure, I did not play that final Grand Prix, and I barely played through half of the second to last one, because by that point I officially decided for my mental health that I was done. That I could not do this anymore. But let's just give a little background here. What is a Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled Grand Prix? Now, it is not the same thing as a Mario Kart Grand Prix. In Mario Kart, a Grand Prix is where you race 4 races and win a cup, but not in CTR, Nitro Fueled. No. That mode was already in the game as the cup race, on which they added 2 new cups as more tracks continued to be added. But the Grand Prix in this game is a month-long event in which Beanox, the developers, added a brand new track, some number of new characters. It was usually 3, but there were a couple of times where it was 4. There was like twice where it was just 1. There will be new character costumes themed around the theme of the event. There will be new carts, new tires, new paint jobs, and new decals for carts added to the pit stop shop. And each month, players also have to complete a nitro gauge by completing challenges of varying difficulty in which they earn nitro, which are just points. So, Brandon, what is the problem here? Why would anybody be upset with having more in-game content? And, honestly, if it was that simple, I would be super happy, right? Like, I'm getting free content added to my $60 purchase every single month. That sounds great, especially in a day and age where, we mostly have to pay microtransactions. Oh, let's put a pin in that. And pay for DLC for games that it costs in the long run even more than the game. I was like, that sounds great. That sounds like a no-brainer. But first, I would like to explain some other aspects of the game and the Grand Prix system to make sense of why I was not so fond of this system. So first, what is the Pit Stop shop? The Pit Stop is a shop where each day characters, character costumes, carts, and other things are rotated daily for set prices. Although there's also bundles that could include a character and a cart and it's paint jobs, right? But the bundle prices depend on what is the bundle, and some bundles are the only way to get certain content, which will be semi-important here. And then by finishing races in Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, you obtain some odd number of Wumpa coins. Wumpa is in reference to the Wumpa fruit from the main games. But Wumpa coins are the in-game currency, of which in a single-player race, the most you can get is 80 coins. Now, items cost, depending on what you want, somewhere between like a couple hundred coins for a decal or a paint job, to 1,500 coins for a character and 2,500 coins for a costume. But racing online gets you significantly more coins because during the first 30 minutes of playing online, which thankfully the timer only runs when you're in a race, so it doesn't include getting into menus, waiting around in lobbies, during that first 30 minutes, you receive 5 times the coins, and of course you get more depending on how well you place. Which, just as an aside, this naturally presents a problem for players who do not have a subscription to whatever online service their system uses, because this is a current-gen console game, so in order to play it online, you need to have either a PlayStation Network account for PS4, an Xbox Live subscription for the Xbox One, or, of course, a Nintendo Switch Online subscription to play online on the Switch. So if you're playing without that, you have to deal with chump change for your coins. But you can also, as of August of 2019, buy Wumpa coins through microtransactions on your console of choice. Strange, right? Why was this not in the game in June, when the game came out? Now, if you want to have a comprehensive video describing the issue with the microtransactions, I would highly recommend checking out Cat Icarus's 2 videos on them. He's a very entertaining guy. I do quite enjoy what he produces. Those two videos, even though they weren't, like exactly what he does for videos normally, were still highly entertaining, even though they were more podcasty, let me rant about this thing sort of video. But he has two very lovely videos on why the microtransactions are a problem and the problems that it shows in the pit stop shop, such as how there was a bundle during the second Grand Prix, which is the I want to say it was just called the Prehistoric Grand Prix, but I want to make sure that it is honestly that simple. No, the Back N Time Grand Prix. They love those N puns in crash-related media. The Back End Time Grand Prix, one of the bundles was like a cart, paint job, and a decal, and Mad Scientist Crash for 9,900 coins. And the biggest bundle of coins you can get on any of these stores is 11,000 because it's 10,000 plus a bonus 1,000 for free. So effectively, you're buying 11,000 coins for $10. $10. Which is not exactly an appealing price for that little tiny amount that can buy you a grand total of one bundle with a character, a cart, a paint job, and a decal. Let me just make sure I have that right. It should be $10, but I want to be thorough on this. In the meantime, I guess I'll go on to describe the Nitro Gauge. So like I said, the Nitro Gauge is it's a bar, and you need to obtain first like 5,000 or 7,000 some odd points, and then you need to obtain 17,000 points. It's like they go in 3 different tiers. It's like you finish the bronze tier by getting that 5,000 coins. You finish the silver tier by getting that 17,000. And by the end, you need to obtain 42,000 points, which is a lot. That is quite a bit. Well, okay, actually, before I get too far, so I'm looking on the PlayStation Store here. And no, the game is $40. I don't know why I was thinking $60. It is a $40 game. So you did not pay full price for the game, but still, $40 is a lot more money than free or even, God, like a $10 game, a $5 game. But if you got the nitrous oxide bundle, that was $60. That might have been where I was getting it from. And yes, the 10,000 plus 1,000 bonus coins is $9.99, although it appears, at least on the PlayStation Store, there are even more bundles now that are even larger, where you can get 20,000 coins with 4,000 bonus for $20, or 30,000 with 10,000 bonus coins, so effectively 40,000 coins for $30. That's a lot of money, especially for a $40 game. And then, so the problems here with this Nitro Gauge and the pit stop shop from the Grand Prix was that any items in the pit stop and on the Nitro Gauge were only available for the month of the Grand Prix. Now, in fairness, eventually, the items from each Grand Prix, for sure the shop items, I can't confirm on the Nitro Gauge items, but at least the shop items would be re-added to the pit stop at a later time. But for sure with the start, it was never certain that that would happen. And like I said, I don't even know what happens if you miss Nitro Gauge items before a new Grand Prix, and like the amount of time between the original Grand Prix and the items being re-added was like 2 or 3 months, so that's another part of why everything seemed like it would be in limbo. So in other words, if you don't play during that month, you are liable to miss out on content and not be able to get it. Now, I know there are tons of people who are like, well, I mean, I don't really care about having everything. And this is ultimately a personal problem of mine as well, that I like to get all the things if I can, but I don't want to commit the time to playing the game for let's see, it's March right now, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. I don't want to commit to playing the game for 10 straight months, pretty much full time. And I say full time because effectively this turns what should be a fun game into work. Instead of playing the game how I want to play it, I'm playing how the game wants me to. And I know there's a ton of people who are super into the game that just like eat, breathe, and drink Crash Team Racing, and they play nothing except for it, and they relish in having these Grand Prix to have their skills continue to be tested. And I'm super happy for them. I encourage them to keep playing. If it makes them happy, I would love to have them keep playing the game. But it does not make me happy because everything is built on this time limit. And it's that concept of when a game turns into work that I get upset with it. So for the first like 6 Grand Prix, I already mentioned 2 of them. There was a Spyro one, too. There was a Halloween-themed one. There was a Neon Circus-themed one. And then there was a Christmas one. There was... I want to say... January was the post-apocalyptic themed one. And now this one's like a space-themed one. That was going on between... The final one between mid-February and March. But in those first 6 ones, I played them through to completion, at least completion in air quotes, I say, because I got all of the characters by completing the gauge and getting as many of the items as I could in the shop. And I tried to get all of the carts, and that was about it. So I didn't even get everything. I didn't even bother with any of the paint jobs or any of the tires or anything like that unless I specifically needed them to get a nitro boost because you could get a bonus percentage of nitro points if you had certain items on your cart, which meant you had to grind to try to get certain items. It was a mess. But basically what's happening here regardless is that I just kept playing a game that I no longer wanted to play because I wanted to get as many of the items as I could. And even getting the characters and the carts and the costumes still took me most of the month. I can't imagine how long it would take if you actually, honestly, tried to get every single thing from the Grand Prix, especially because before I started the Grand Prix, I didn't even have all of the items in the base game. So I still have items or at least costumes and carts from the base game that I don't have unlocked because I was always focused on, I have to get the new item before it's gone from the shop. I have to get the new item before it's gone from the shop. So when the Rustland Grand Prix came around, that's the post-apocalyptic one I mentioned, and the current Gasmoxia Grand Prix, I was like, I can't do this anymore, I'm done. I abandoned it. And I honestly have no idea when I would want to play Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled again. And it's sad because this is something that should have made me want to play, but the fact that they just wanted to retain me as a player seemingly permanently instead of keeping me for like a few minutes every month or so isn't enjoyable, at least to me. I look at, just for comparison, how, say, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate handles player retention through its DLC and by adding spirits. In fact, there's going to be a new spirit event this weekend of March 14th. They're going to be adding some Ring Fit Adventure spirits. And, the spirits like this are added like every month, maybe a few weeks. and it's one spirit, maybe 4 spirits maximum. And once you beat it, you're good to go. You're all done. And even though said spirits may only be available for like a couple of days over the weekend, since all you need to do is win a couple of spirit battles, it's not all that intrusive, right? It's like, okay, I can go on to Smash, play those battles. I might have to wait for it to actually come around, or I can, mess with the spirit board to try to get it to come around sooner. But once it's done, it's done. And it takes like no more than an hour. And similarly, DLC fighters release every couple of months, especially now with the Fighters Pass 2 that I talked about briefly in the third episode. No, wait, it was the second episode. What am I saying? Second episode. Check out that one for that segment, the Byleth segment. But the content from those releases are permanently in the game. There is no time limitation. You want to get the character and the stage and the spirits for the DLC's Fighter Spirit Board, you have them. So that should be my spiel on CTR, unless I think of anything else to talk about. I feel like for the most part I've gone through my main issues. It's really, honestly, if it were like, we're adding this Grand Prix for you to complete, and it's like, if you remember like Hyrule Warriors, for example, and I mean obviously now it's been re-released twice on the 3DS and on the Switch having every single piece of content now because it is the Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. Every time with DLC they added a new adventure mode map where you had challenges on like a grid. If it was just like that, where it's like, we're going to add this every month to give you new challenges to do for items from this themed Grand Prix, that'd be fine. That'd be perfect. That's exactly what I'd want. It's like, I can do it when I want. I'll just get it done whenever. And then I will go through an order, complete every single Grand Prix, and I will be, peachy keen, super happy. That is not how it went. And ultimately, while I'm happy for those who love how content is releasing, I have finally accepted that I need to stop playing it. And that is okay. Moving on to the behemoth Animal Crossing New Horizons Direct segment.